John Wesley, the Journeyman Guitarist here. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. I've got a Patreon if you want to go deeper and get with me more into the creative process as I'm in the middle of writing and tracking an album, and will be for the next few months. And all of those kind of things happen on Patreon, so join me there. So today I want to talk about Teles and PRSs. And how does a PRS relate to a Tele? Well, it's kind of a strange thing. You see, if you caught my last video, you would know that I love a beautiful Tele sound. It's incredibly functional. In the recording world, they sound great on their own in certain things. They sound great stacked. If you listen to old Led Zeppelin and some of the older bands, I mean, listen to the Rolling Stones, you can make Teles sound immense and they cut through everything. There's just something magic about them. But you can't always have one when you're touring on the road. Like I only own this one. And when I'm traveling, traveling is very expensive these days. Moving your gear around is really expensive these days. I can't really take a Tele. I take two PRSs. And the one PRS is usually a backup for the main one. Sometimes I'll bring something fun. Sometimes I'll bring an old Les Paul or something that has humbuckers in it. So at least it'll cover for the main guitar should the main guitar go down. And sometimes I'll just pull it out and have some fun with it. But I usually always take two PRSs, because that's what the gig dictates. It's that kind of music. That's what the songs demand, that combination. But there are times during that set where I'm playing parts where a Tele would be perfect. And maybe at times not even for the whole song, but maybe just to pop in and pop out, to highlight a certain part. Maybe Matt will be playing a heavier part, and sometimes maybe if I'm doing something underneath it that's slightly different, if I had a Tele kind of sound, it would make both parts really punch out. And that's also a recording trick I use all the time. If you caught my last video, I talk about how this is my most recorded guitar, and I use it to double up parts all the time and sit them in the back and just make the whole part sound like one thing that kind of pokes out. And then sometimes, obviously, I just use it because it just records fantastic. So, just kind of gives you an idea of what it sounds like through a Bad Cat Jet Black, which is an EL84 based amp and a little bit of delay. And I've got a Klon stuck on the front of this, but with very little gain. So you can kind of hear how pretty and how pretty and how cutty that is. And it's just a great thing. And some songs may require that kind of a part to where it just sits out wonderful on its own. And then sometimes you might want to just hammer it, like maybe switch over to the hot channel of an amp like the Jet Black and just hammer it and make that the featured thing. And it would sound something like this. Brutal. It's fantastic. Stack that, double it, it's just a wonderful thing. And of course it doesn't hurt to run it through a Bad Cat. All right, so here's my conundrum. I cannot take this Tele on the road with me. Number one, it's one of my most precious guitars, and frankly, unless it's a massive tour where there's guitar trunks and people to look after it and really, really make sure that it's not flying on airplanes and it's living on a truck and it's being well taken care of, I'm not taking this guitar out, right? It's a 71. I've done a million things to it to make it exactly what I want it to be, so it's staying home. Well, that leaves me with a conundrum, because there are times, especially in the gig with Vertical Horizon right now, where I want a Tele sound. There are times when Matt's playing a part or we're playing a different part to a song and I need a Tele sound. Well, and you may be in the same boat. Maybe you've only got one or two guitars, or you're thinking about buying one guitar that you need to do a lot of things, and you can't really afford to have a Tele because, you know, it's kind of a, you know, you can't really call it a one-trick pony because that it's got a lot of tricks. But let's say it's not going to cover the whole night of gigs for you. So for me, that guitar is usually always a PRS, and the PRSs I tend to tour, most of them anyway, have the ability to split the bridge pickup. And PRS has really, really perfected it. I know a lot of companies have, but this is the guitar I play. It's a guitar I tour. So I want to show you how I solve the Tele problem. And this is what I call my PRS Tele trick. Now, if I'm playing a PRS, standard, stock sound, hot channel of the amp, it's a pretty vicious, big sound. But, when you got two guitars doing that, there are times when you want that big, vicious sound happening, and you want it doubled, and you want it one, you pan each guitar on the left or the right of the PA, or if you're recording it, you want that big sound. But what if it's the kind of thing where you want to add some cut, you want to add an arpeggio, you want to highlight a part? Well, that's when a Tele would come in great, but I don't have one on the road. So what do I do? Well, I happen to know from years and years and years of playing this guitar that this pickup splits, and it splits by me just pulling that little pot out. So in the middle of a gig, in the middle of a song, going from section to section all night long, I'll be just reaching down, grabbing the pot, bringing it in and out. And this is kind of what I get. Now, this is kind of with the clean sound of the Jet Black, but it kind of goes, oh my goodness. Let's say I need to go to that final bit of heavy, back to the humbucker. I just stop playing, reach down, and go. So that's the trick. Get yourself a guitar with some splitting pickups. I mean, I love PRSs. A lot of CEs and SEs that are out there right now come stock with your pickup split built into it. For recording, I mean, hey man, if you can afford it, spend $400 or $500 on a Tele, and because they're just making some amazing ones. The new the new line of Teles that they've come out with in that budget price range are amazing. And let's face it, when Teles were being made in the 1950s, they were still just guitars on band saws with some hand wound pickups being thrown in them. And it's really about the instrument itself. Doesn't matter if it's made in Korea, doesn't matter if it's made in Mexico. You know, some of my favorite guitars were the old Fender Squires. So basically you just find one that sounds good and plays good. But barring that, if you got to have one guitar like me and you got to take one guitar out on tour, I take a PRS out with a pickup split and create different sounds all night long. You know, with a channel changing either amp or modeler or something like that, you can really get a ton of different tones. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. I use it all the time. It's a trick I use while recording. I use it while touring and everything. And my PRS never lets me down. Anyway, John Wesley, the Journeyman Guitarist, signing out. Hopefully we'll catch you soon, somewhere down the road. Take care.